College football playoff is a joke. It's a goddamn joke. And I'm sick of it. I'm literally sick of it. It's the committee comes and, Florida sits there at 5th and the fan base is justifiably pissed off. And I think I'd be upset too as a Power 5 school that goes undefeated, 2 non-conference wins against LSU, and then I think another SEC school. And here we are, like Alabama sneaks its way in because they beat Georgia and they jump up a bunch of spots. I think they were number 7 or 8. The team's never jumped in that far. And I have to remind myself that college football is stupid. It's like a stupid sport because what just happened here is something that I think we've always known, that the games don't actually matter because it's a show. It's not a competition. It's about what matchups produce the most money. And what's even funnier, Bert, as I think about this, because it used to be stupider, right? They used to play the games. They used to do the bowl games, and then we would wake up the next morning and read the newspaper, and somebody would just pick a national champion. Like somebody in charge, you would just say, okay, we've watched all the bowl games and we think this one team, and sometimes it was more than one team, right? Remember co-national champions, Bert? Like, there was a thing where like they just picked a guy or picked a team, and you never knew what the criteria was. There wasn't any explanation for it. And honestly, like, it's why Princeton has 28 world championships, right, throughout the title. Why Michigan, I know they just celebrated 1,000 wins, but if you look at the history of it, a lot of those wins came against high school teams. And that's why Alabama has a bunch of championships, because some person named Deacon Butkus decided, hey, I think, this guy's the national champion. And so I don't know. It's Bert, give me an explanation on why this happened.
And this is the reason. There is no valid explanation. There are no data points. It was purely based off objectivity and people feeling as though, despite the 15-0, despite the championship, they felt that obviously Alabama should be in it because they're a better team than Florida, given the recent injuries to Florida, and it would just make for a better game. And I think that's why, like, a lot of people are upset. You form a college football playoffs, and there should be some type of standard as to who would get in and who wouldn't based off data points alone. But that simply wasn't the case. Now, I mean, Jerm, you had mentioned this through text and me, like, obviously next year, this won't matter because they're expanding. So hopefully we won't see this big of a uproar about it. But I think everybody in the sports world, or at least the football, college football, I mean, the talking heads on ESPN, the talking heads here on this show are sitting here beside ourselves like, what is going on? And not the fact that obviously Alabama doesn't deserve to be in there, but clearly Florida should have just jumped them 100%. I think it's look, there's no perfect mathematical equation because you have the different conferences in there. And yes, we used to go through a much dumber process. It's just until you work it out, it's going to be one of those things where, it's never going to be perfect ever. So obviously, I mean, look, everybody in Florida, well, not everybody in Florida, but like, those for Florida State are a little bit upset. So we'll say Tallahassee, that area, obviously not happy. And then everybody else just sitting there going, what happened? Like, what is going on? Who can we blame for this, Jerm?
Oh, hold on. You know who we can blame, Bert? I'll tell you exactly who we can blame. And I can tell you exactly whose fault it is.
Liberal media.
So Dwayne Marcus, there's something wrong with this system. When Florida State's quarterback, Jordan Travis, says, I wish I broke my leg earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And when I said that, I took that as, I wish my teammates had gotten more opportunities to prove to 13 jackass random old farts in a conference room that even though we were undefeated with me, even though we were undefeated with the second string guy, and even though Let me check my notes. Oh, yeah. We were still undefeated with the third string guy, that we were still good enough and still one of the best 4 teams without me. And the fact that the committee unilaterally disregarded 11 games that they had won previously. Do the games matter, Dwayne Marcus? Is that the messaging that college football is actually sending us, that the games actually don't matter? That every Tuesday they come out with these stupid ESPN shows ranking the top 4, and none of the rankings matter because the only rankings that actually matter are the last ones. So do the games in college football matter?
Yeah, I think the games for college football matter because these are kids that are getting scouted by the 32 teams in the NFL so they can go be drafted in April. That's why the games matter to me. Look, I have given up
Hell yeah, Dwayne
on
Marcus.
the college football. Like, I've given up on the college football playoff committee being reasonable. But what I did do is I did take some time today during what was a pretty slow day at work. I did some work things, but before work, I figured out. My boss doesn't see that. I just realized I just admitted to doing basically nothing at work today. But whatever. I sat down and I thought about allegedly. I thought about ways that we could make the college football playoff selection thing better. Right? Here's what I came up with. You divide the country into 6 sections. The champion of each of the sections, those champions, regardless of record, those champions are put into a college football playoff, and then you put the champions in order of best record to worst record. The 2 best records get a bye. And then I thought about it, and I realized that there was a time when we had 6, sections. There was the ACC, and then there was the Big Ten, there was the Big 12, and the Pac-12, and the SEC. But then I remembered that all the commissioners of all these different sections, they decided they're just going to move themselves around however they please. Those sections don't even work anymore because we don't have a Pac-12 anymore. We got like a Pac-2. And the Big Ten's not the Big Ten anymore. It's like the Big 50. And the SEC's got teams from like the middle of the country now. So that doesn't work either. So here's what we do. We have a 12-team college football playoff. And we're going to give the 4 best teams a bye. But you guys, guess what still has to happen? There's still a group of people that have to figure out who the 4 best teams in the country are. So the 12-team college football playoff format that starts next year isn't going to fix anything. It's not. It's actually going to make things worse. Because not only are you going to pick 4 teams to get a bye, you're also basically hand-picking matchups. Do you know that if the college football playoff was a 12-team format this year, Oregon, who I'm a fan of, would be playing Liberty University, undefeated. Shout out to Liberty. I'll be starting there online in January to get another degree. Shout out to Liberty University. In what world do the Liberty University Owls, or whatever they are, deserve to be on a football field with the Oregon Ducks? In what world does that happen? By the way, they're ranked 23. They're ranked 23rd in the country, and they would have had, if the 12-team playoff existed today, they would have had a playoff game against the Oregon Ducks. The college football playoff committee is stupid. It shouldn't exist, and it is unfortunate that we live in a world where there are still old people who are out of touch, who get to make decisions. It's almost as if that's how the country runs, and I just wish that we could get away from all these old white people making decisions about things that old white people don't enjoy. How many old white people really, really, really sit down and enjoy college football? None of them. Half of them don't even know what NIL means. You know how I know that? Because I only knew what NIL means 3 months ago. These people don't know anything about college football. College football it's a great sport. The game of football is a great sport, right? Beside all the hundreds of thousands of car crashes that are happening all the time, right, with humans, it's a great sport and it's fun. And what's happened right now is you look at certain situations like this one and you say, man, Florida State was undefeated and they lost out on a chance to win a national championship for the first time since Jameis Winston was quarterback because their quarterback broke their leg, but they were still undefeated. That's ridiculous to me. It's asinine. And if we are going to sit here and play this game of we're just going to pick the 4 teams we like the best, then if that's the case, there's no need to pick because Alabama's going to be in it every year.
Yeah.
What the committee told us this year is that if you, me, and 10 other Joe Schmoes just so happen to catch Georgia on an off day one day and beat them closely, we would the 13 of us, 20 of us would make the college football playoff, is what the committee told us this year. It's unfortunate. And for all those people who think it's going to be better next year, it's not. Because the committee's decision is only going to impact more matchups. It's only going to impact the champions even more. And so all I can say is I solely watch college football to figure out which players are going to be playing on Sunday. And out of that bunch, which 10 of them are going to be in Canton 20, 25 years from now. That's all that college football is for at this point. So if you think college football is useless, you're an idiot, because it's not. You get to see the next generation of great NFL players that you'll be buying jerseys and rooting for on Sundays and sometimes Mondays. And we need to stop rooting for them on Thursdays, but the NFL is going to do it anyway. And sometimes on Thursdays, play football. That's what it's for. That's what it's always going to be for. That's all I care about. So I'll see Keon Coleman on Sundays, and I'll see Jordan Travis on Sundays, and I'll see a couple of these other players on Sundays, because the college football playoff committee sucks. It's worse than Congress at this point.
Man, I know we're getting obviously a little bit late in the show, but what I will say, just to rebuttal your point, like, why not Liberty University? Why we root for upsets in March Madness all the time. We lost our minds when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue last year, and yet, you know, I want to see a 25th ranked team knock off Alabama or Oregon or someone, you know, like make it happen. I don't give a shit, you know.
Let's just get a March Madness style college football playoff at this point. Let's just do it.
I mean, but at the end of the day, the playoffs do work. We have it in the NFL, right? The 14 best records play in the playoff. Like you can do that in college. The best records get the seedings, and you know you might have to realign some of the conferences to make it work, but you don't have to pick the teams. Throw it in the BCS and just spit out the 12 teams in the top 4, whatever the criteria you want it to be, but. Liberty, I don't like the argument that Liberty's also undefeated, so they should be in the top 4. No, they don't have the listen. Bert, I'm not going to throw Dwayne Marcus in there, but me and Bert goes out and sleeps with Beyonce, and I go sleep with Bertha, who works at Big Shirley's Diner. Yeah, they're both women, but they're not the same. It's not the same. I mean, it's just not the same, right? And
no, it's
so
not.
No,
it's
Liberty.
Not, yeah.
Okay, so Liberty. Sorry, Liberty. You're undefeated. It's not the same.
No, I agree. I was not pining. No, I was not pining for Liberty to be. What I was saying was, if this is like, what I'm saying is, there were a lot of people like 12 football. Like if the 12 teams was now, Liberty would have had one of the 12 spots. And it's like why? Like it's Liberty University. Like it's a Protestant Christian school in Lynchburg, Virginia, that like is going to suck next year. They're going to suck next year. They're not going to be 13-0 again next year.
Joe B, listen, they've written off the Colts too. They could have been good. Gardner Minshew is a football player. We are big Gardner Minshew fans on the West Side. Let me tell you, is he perfect? No. Does he look bad sometimes? Yes. But is he electrifying? You damn straight he is. You goddamn right Gardner Minshew is that guy. I love Gardner Minshew. He's you run through a wall for that guy. Chaos Cavs, what's up, man? Because NIL, there will always be 8 teams that'll be good enough to be in the playoffs, so 9 to 12 won't matter. And so at the end of the day, he's right? Like, yes, the committee will still choose the 4 seedings, but you'll know I know that's a 12-team playoff, but we'll know pretty clearly who the best 8 to 10 teams are, and then you'll fill out the rest of the bracket, right? Like, so yes, will it matter who gets the bye or who deserves the bye? Listen,
I think so.
It was wrong. It was wrong to leave out Florida State. Games on the field have to matter. It can't be based on reputation. It can't be a beauty contest, or like Mike Greenberg said, figure skating, where judges just decide, objectively. It has to be subjective. Sports are subjective. One team plays, one team wins, one team loses, right? Or 2 teams play, one team wins, one team loses. For years, we were told that the problem with expanded playoffs was that it would devalue the regular season and that every Saturday mattered. And that's what made college football better than the NFL. And that's why it's special. But the Saturday in September didn't matter for Alabama, right? When they lost to Texas, it didn't matter then. So don't tell me that the games don't matter. There's no downside to a 12-team playoff. There's no downside to an 18-team playoff. Whatever you want to do.